Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We're here in part two, I think, of a great soup to nuts conversation, as I like to call them, where we take you from the beginning to end, hopefully on a subject. In this case, we're talking about marketing. Our program, we have Ralph D'Onofrio with us. Ralph's got a great career. He's done a lot of work with a lot of companies. And if you listened to part one last week, you heard quite a bit about some of the case studies, if you will, and people he's worked with. He's got that experience he brings to the table. And our soup to nuts conversation is entitled, What Questions You Must Answer to Properly Market Your Business. And Ralph, you know, our conversation in the first segment or first part of this soup to nuts three-part conversation, a lot of it revolved around business, what your business was, what you offer, these kinds of things. Basic questions, hard questions for, as you said, for a lot of folks to answer. And it kind of threw me at first, but I get it. I guess I sort of wrapped it in a different wrapper. But you really need to understand your business, your purpose, all these different things before you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to put a marketing plan together. I'm going to market my services. And that's something people really need to understand. You need to do the groundwork, I guess, is what we'd call it generally in business before you try to build the building.
Right. Think about this. The marketer's role. I notice I just had to pull an old note out, and I trademarked this in 1998 or so. But the role of the marketer is really not to lead the horse to water. It's not to make them drink. The marketer's role is really to make the horse thirsty. Okay. And the worst example, of course, of leading the horse to water and making them drink is the car dealers. You know, you got this fancy car and it has everything you ever wanted in your life. And then they say it has this. And by the way, we're giving you $10,000 off, $12,000 off. Come out here and buy one of the things, okay? They told us they sort of got us fascinated with the car, but then they say, come out here and drink, and I'll give you $10,000 off. That's not the role of the marketer. The role of the marketer is to make the horse thirsty for us to go out there and see what we've got, okay? And instead of just beating them up with price or whatever it is they do, the good marketer just sort of tempts us. You know, what does Corona say? Find your beach, okay? How long they've been saying that? And then all you see is pictures of people on the beach and having a good time and so on, okay? But what are they saying? Drink our beer? No. They say, find your beach. Make us thirsty. That to me is just some good marketing. Honestly.
Yeah, and that's a great example. I love the one, stay thirsty, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. By the way, drink our beer, but stay thirsty.
Stay thirsty,
yeah,
right?
That's right. Make the horse thirsty, make me thirsty on the thing. Okay.
Well, that's great stuff.
And the other thing, I think this may seem extreme, but any product or service can probably be turned into an experience. The best example is Apple, of course. They've made their computers, their phones, their everything else an experience, all right? If you've ever been to an Apple store, it's an experience. So think of the idea of making any product or service you're doing turning into an experience. The question you should always ask yourself, could we charge for this? Okay? Now, most of us can't. But if you sort of look at the idea, what are we doing here? We've got $10 cupcakes in downtown Conroe. Can we charge people to come in and look at our $10 cupcakes? Okay. Now, that's a little tongue-in-cheek, but if you sort of work your way back from that on what are we really doing here and how we're trying to do this and how we're making the horse thirsty, it's not a bad idea to sort of visualize, could I really charge somebody admission to come in here and see my cupcakes? Or whatever it is we're doing, okay? It's not a bad way. We're talking about being a marketer. You have to have a bit of imagination to be a marketer because the other guy out there has a bit of imagination too, okay? That's the problem. But so try to visualize, not just plain old, I run an ad in the local paper or I use brighter red than the other guy does or whatever this stuff. You have to sort of build your imagination into this, and if you personally can't, I'm sure there's a lot of people around who could help you do that make a living trying to help you be a marketer. Okay, even every big company has advertising agencies and design firms and everything outside. Okay, don't get the horse to drink, make him thirsty.
Yeah.
Make them thirsty.
Well, and I think that's a great piece of advice for anybody. And again, small business people, you're small business owners, you're listening to this because big companies have advertising agencies, whatnot. There are so many marketing firms and individuals out there that work with small business. There's some great ones. You can find out about them. If you have a question, contact me. Again, Rick at irlonestar.com. I'll give you a list of books to read. There's all kinds of resources that you can connect with that help you make the horse thirsty. And I think we're going to stick with that, Ralph. I like that example. Well, let's kind of dig a little bit into the nitty gritty of marketing.
Wait a minute, just one more point. There's nothing wrong with being an idea thief. Okay, I've been one all my life. Most good marketers have been. Okay, don't take something out of your industry, steal something from some other industry, and use that in your industry. So try to be an ideal thief. If you're a small business, can't afford these other things, use your imagination. Why is that guy doing that? That color red on that truck over there would look good on my storefront, or wherever we are. It's like, just be an idea thief. Okay?
Yeah.
There's tons of them out there that we can steal.
And we just hope the jails aren't full of the ones who got caught. No, imitation was that sincerest form of flattery, so is the old expression, but I agree with you. Small businesses, we've got to beg, borrow, steal. We've got to find things that we can utilize. And again, the big boys have invested the time and the effort, and companies, and whether it be the color of the truck or the window or whatever it might be, always have your eyes open to see how things are working.
Marketing is not rational. Thank goodness, marketing is not rational. Always think about benefits first. You can come up with the credentials later, okay? What's the benefit of my $10 cupcake here? Okay. But so marketing is not rational. That's not the way it enters our mind. What's the benefit? Oh, look at that cupcake. Wow. Okay. Then look around for the credentials, or could I do better? But do the benefits first. I think you'll be surprised that people aren't going to think that deeply if you have a good proposition to them. Hey, this is all right. I can justify that. I like that. I want that. Bingo. Okay.
Especially if you can get them to pay $10 for a cupcake, right?
Some people do, apparently.
Yeah, well, it's been done, I'm sure. Let's dig down real quick into some what I call nitty-gritty nuts and bolts for just a moment, because one of the things that I think is important is where does your business fit in the current marketplace? So now you've got this idea, you've thought through it, you've done the things that you've talked about. Now we got to go into the marketplace. We got to look at competition, product service offering. What is it that's unique about what we're doing compared to everybody else? And what advantage can we even get? I heard a wonderful piece the other day about how a company set itself out because of the way it delivers its products, its box. Even though its product might be the same as 100 others in the marketplace, people are inclined to buy it because of the way it's presented and delivered to them. Any comments on that?
Well, I am always amazed at this outfit called Chewy, which I guess is for pet owners, has come out of nowhere. I'm not sure it's an Amazon company or not, but it's come out of nowhere. What are they delivering? Stuff you could buy down the street at the store, right? At the PetSmart or PetCo, wherever it is. There's nothing new what's in the box. But I can't tell you how many of those Chewy boxes I see in my neighborhood, especially on recycling day when everybody's out there getting rid of them. Okay, so what do? Just a better way to do it, faster way to do it, ship in 2 days. And Chewy, nice term, okay? Nice term. Somebody was very clever, but they're not really doing anything differently, are they, than anybody else who ships online, but Chewy. And I guess they got competition. There's one called Bow Wow, there's another one out there. But Chewy has sort of seemed to dominate it because of the use of the name, okay? And what's the benefit when you hear the name Chewy? You don't have to answer, okay? But Chewy, okay, I can do that, right?
Well, it's memorable.
Huh? Memorable, that's right. Memorable, okay, so it's slipped in. So you have to admire whoever Chewy was, whoever thought this up. Very clever. Not doing anything different except, what? Making it convenient for us. I think the commercials say is the dog food bag too heavy to lift? Is the cat litter bag too heavy to lift? We'll lift it for you. Okay, pretty clever. Or
the UPS driver. Yeah. I'll give you a quick backstory on Chewy.com. You picked that example. I believe it's PetSmart or maybe Petco owns that company. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to extend or protect their turf, if you will, in the pet food business, and they sell other things, toys, same kind of things you'll find in the store, in the brick and mortar store. And so they've extended out. Well, my wife and I were using that service for a year or two for the reasons you mentioned, to a heavy bag she couldn't carry from the store, load it in her car or whatever. And so she started using it, and it became, you had to have a minimum order. Something kind of began to turn her off. So she went back and did a price comparison because they claim you're saving money. And she says, really, we're paying about the same at the store. So now she's back at the store buying the dog food, cat food in smaller sizes, though, so she can pick them up.
Right.
And she's convinced herself, I don't know if it's true, but she's emotionally convinced herself that it is not as cheap, but just a little bit more. So she gave up what she considered being somewhat of a hassle, having to order minimum quantities and staying up with it to get the free delivery or whatever the proposition was. So it's kind of interesting that when you decide where you fit in the marketplace and what you do, and quite frankly, I can't imagine delivering a 40, 50-pound bag of dog food in a cardboard box, how that is efficient, and I can really cut the price that much. But they did it, and like you say, millions of people obviously have bought into this because their sales continue to grow.
Benefits first, and that's all we grabbed, right? The benefits were, now your wife is looking at the credentials a year and a half later or something.
Yes.
And she's beginning to really think this out. But in the beginning, the benefits of whatever Chewy was suggesting overrode everything, and you became a customer. Okay. Amazon has 100 and some odd million people who pay for that Prime each year at $119 each. Quick math, that's 11 or 12 billion dollars. You can do a lot with 11, 12 billion dollars. Walmart says you don't have to join, we deliver free, and they're having a hard time getting traction with that. It's coming, but they're having a hard time getting traction, with free versus $119 a year. By the way, you have to renew this every year, okay? And yet, at the moment, Walmart's having a hard time getting traction saying free, 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 because somehow Amazon has made us think, I can do anything for $119. I can get this, okay.
Well, they shotgun their offering, I know, because I'm a Prime member, and they offer movies,
Right.
free music, free. Now, it's not all the music and not all the movies. They're very conscious and they have a plan of how they can get more out of you. But the idea that you get the same day or 2-day shipping free and all that. But so they shot, in my opinion, because they've already pulled some of the services back. Obviously, they weren't used or got too expensive. Whereas poor old Walmart has just got free.
It's free.
If you buy
and
$50 or something
and
like
they're
that.
struggling. And they're struggling to get traction with that. It's interesting.
So it's people need to hear and understand, and even in your small business, as you mentioned, every hour the world changes, is you will come out with or adopt, if you will,
Right.
or steal your word, an idea, and you'll put it in your business. But you need to always be aware that over time, like my wife and the Chewy.com, she started looking into the credentials. And at some point, she became a non-believer and switched her loyalty and her business
Right.
back to what she's doing.
She adapted.
With some adjustments. Yeah,
She
she adapted.
smaller packages.
And
so
it
on.
happens. It happens every
right.
day. So don't think you put your world's greatest idea out there and it just goes. And even if you execute it well, because there's always going to be somebody down the street, around the block, across the country that's working to beat you competitively wise. Let's talk a little bit about employees. That's something that you and I talked about before, about people, and people say, okay, marketing people. Well, it doesn't do any good to have the best marketing plan and program in the world if you don't have good people around you and so on and so forth. And give us your thoughts on where people fit into all this.
Well, let me just a little background. When I was a year out of college, I think I was 22 years old. I got my first managerial job. I had 4 people, and if I memory serves me right, probably $50,000 worth of revenue. If you fast forward that about 30 some odd years, I ended up with close to 1,000 people I was responsible for in a $1 billion business. I tell you those two milestones because between those two, I have made every HR mistake there is in the world at least twice, okay? And a few marketing mistakes and a lot of managerial mistakes, but my biggest learning curve was with people, okay? And here's what I really got out of that. Get your pen and your pencil in your left or right hand. You cannot manage people. You'll drive yourself nuts, and you'll drive your employees crazy by trying to manage them. What you can manage is activity, and you can manage space, and you can manage time. And the best example of that is NFL football on Sunday afternoon. You've got 11 people on one side facing another 11 on the other side. Okay, each one of them has an activity they're supposed to do when the ball is hiked. Everybody's in a space, right? And there's a lot of timing involved. How long before they snap the ball? The guy stands still, and counts to 3, and then goes to his left, or he backs up and. But you cannot, very slowly, you cannot manage people. You can manage their activities. You can manage space, and you can manage time. So if you have employees, think about what you're doing with them. You're hollering at them to get over there, do this, jump up and down with it, or you're saying, here's the activities I want you to participate in. I want you to, the timing on this is so-and-so, and your space is at the end of that room or over that table or whatever it is. Think about that. You'll drive yourself nuts and your employees nuts trying to manage people. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, that kind of comes under the guise, maybe if I'm hearing you right, where you micromanage. They always talk about that because that's really what they're saying.
That's right.
Experience is you're managing the people.
That's right.
And they call it micromanaging, but really you're managing the people.
And you can't do it. And but you can manage what you want them to do, their activity. You can tell them how much time they have to do this in, okay, and what space they're supposed to be working in. That you can manage. That you have complete control of. And it just doesn't work the other way, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. In 30-some-odd years, I made every HR mistake at least twice, maybe more, okay, because I thought I could pound my chest and tell people what to do. Didn't work.
And they'll do it. Yeah, that's interesting.
Didn't work very well.
That goes into leadership and all the dynamics. It really does come back to how you really can manage or not manage, if you will, people and what you've got to manage. It's a great piece of advice. You know, one of the things is we prepare our marketing or change our marketing or evaluate it on an annual basis is to look at our workforce and look at their skill sets and look who they are. What can they deliver what I'm going to try to market, whether it be a product, service. And so many times I've seen things out of sync. The company represents itself as one thing, right?
That's right.
Like next day delivery, but they don't have a workforce or perhaps a facility. But if you don't have people that have the mindset, hey, everything's got to go every day. Because I personally was in a business where we cleared the line every day. And at the end of the day, if there were some orders hanging, I had to stay there and make sure, as part of my job as a manager, personally, to make sure that's how important it was that these 2 or 3 orders that had not been matched up got out some way, somehow, whether I had to take them myself or whatever. But it was a mindset. And people got to understand their workforce, that they hire, they train, has to match what they promise. Right. Either directly or indirectly.
Yeah, and at the moment, hiring good workforces is tough because there are more jobs out there than there are people available. And if they don't feel they're being appreciated or managed correctly or whatever term you like to use, they can walk. They can walk, okay? And if the Quick Lube doesn't treat the guy right, he goes down and works at McDonald's or vice versa, okay? And because there's too many opportunities out there. So again, let's go. You manage activity, which is probably your biggest job. You manage space and you manage time. Think about that. If you could manage people, let's go back to my football analogy. If you could manage people, the quarterback would never throw an interception. The blocker would never miss a block. The end would never drop the ball, okay, because you just tell them, don't drop the ball. That's how that doesn't work that way. And the same thing applies in your business, okay? So I'd like you to be at a certain spot, and hopefully the ball will be there, okay? That we can manage activity, we can manage that space and that time, and if a little luck, everything turns out. But as we know, if we ever watch football on Sunday afternoon, it doesn't work that way, okay? Yeah. Because there's 11 guys on one side trying to do opposite what the other guys on the other side, okay? Well, life's like that. Your business is like that. So activity, space, and time. Don't drive yourself nuts trying to manage people. don't drive them nuts either. Okay.
Well, yes, and then they'll leave.
That's
if
right.
You drive them nuts, right?
That's right.
Well, you know, one of the particular areas that I always find interesting is compensation. You know, we have conversations about compensating. I work with my clients, compensating. How should I compensate? You know, and well, we'll go check and see what the guy down at McDonald's, what's McDonald's paying? That's what I got to pay at the Quick Lube and whatever. And I agree. That's one angle, but I think go back to the marketing and all the things we've talked about, where we want to be, what we offer. Are we compensating people that pay benefits, whatever the package is, compensation package? Are we wise enough, smart enough that we're paying the compensation at a level where it will attract and retain people who can be trained, that have enough on the ball, that can deliver what we want to deliver with the business? Again, so much time spent on evaluating what others pay, and a lot of times, unfortunately, well, how little can I pay? Because, you know, the bottom line. But then we have a workforce, or have people in the workforce is mostly what I see. It's not the whole work, that can't really, just don't have the ability, the training, whatever, to deliver what we've promised or what we hope to deliver to the market.
Yeah, well, you know, I think one of the advantages you have as a privately held business is you can pay what, you can hire what you need and hopefully pay for what that need is. I'll go back to example of, I had a client who was a heck of an idea man, but he as far as getting things done, he was tough, okay? And he's gotten smart, and he hires people for specific jobs to get things done, okay? And whether that's $45,000 a year, or $85,000 a year, or $125,000, it's specific to what he needs. Now, so as owners of privately held business, I think you have that advantage, where you're not in a cookie cutter. This is what Exxon does. This is what Shell does. You know, you're not in a cookie. You need somebody to do it. What's it worth to you? What's it worth to you? You got a business to run, okay, on this thing.
Oh, and
So-
you got to deliver.
And you got to deliver, right?
What do you got to deliver?
That's right.
Either that or change what you're going to deliver, right? Lower expectations.
That's right.
You can hire a lower level employee, theoretically.
Okay, and then what happens that when you have the lower level, you can't find your truck?
Well,
Yeah.
or there's no
Right.
market for lowering your market expectations. There's not enough market.
That's right.
$10 cupcakes when people are not going to spend more than $2,
That's
period,
right.
the whole market, or most of it.
That's right.
So it's very interesting. Well, Ralph, as always, it's a great conversation we've had. In the second part, I appreciate, again, you bringing your wisdom, experience to the table and sharing with us. And I look forward to our next conversation, part 3, ladies and gentlemen, on how to, in a soup to nuts form, what questions you must answer to properly market your business. We look forward to continuing next week on part 3.